welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe Television. I am Babli Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast, a team of 12 lawyers battling to secure the release of the pregnant woman arrested and detained in the Boya Central Prison. They are decrying gross violations of human rights in the arrest and detention of the 25-year-old young woman in connection to the Anglophone crisis. Also in this newscast, we're going to give you details of the circumstances of her arrest and out of the country. The war between the Ethiopian army and the Tigray Liberation Forces continues, killing many, including children, in the crisis-stricken Tigray region. She was arrested and detained in connection to the Anglophone crisis, and she has been in detention for several days now. She is a 25-year-old young woman arrested in connection to a relationship she had with a leading non-state armed group fighter in the name of General No Pity in the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, and widespread condemnation continue flowing in from across the globe over gross human rights violations in the arrest and detention of the young woman, decried by human rights lawyers. There are 12 in number who are now fighting for her release. Derek Jato reports.
Over 12 lawyers are on the case of Consul Antoinette.
On the 2nd of October 2021, Madam Consul Antoinette, who was a former girlfriend of a separatist fighter by name No Pity, was being arrested. A chief who is also a military man by name Chief Moja led the arrest.
Barrister Edward Ewule is one of the lead counsels.
And as a human rights lawyers that we are, we will not let that line low.
And the case will be heard on Friday, the 22nd day of October 2021. And this battery of lawyers involved are calling for justice.
We have a very sound president of the High Court, Justice Anna Fong. Anna Fong is a very sound judge of the High Court, and we are telling her that as she's handling this case, the whole world is looking at her. The whole international community is looking at her. We want her to render justice.
At the moment, Barrister Tamfo Richard has also filed a complaint against Chief Ewume Eko John, fondly known here, Chief Moja.
We filed a complaint against him for torture of a pregnant woman and threats.
These human rights legal minds say they are not in any way standing on the way of justice, but are calling on the power that be to take justice to the suspect or bring the suspect to justice, not to those related to the suspect.
I, my learned friend, Barrister Tamfu here, Barrister Lengenju Vitalis, who filed the case, we said no. If No Pity has committed a crime, the military might should be able to go after No Pity.
At press time, the 25-year-old 8 months pregnant Consul Antoinette was still at the Boya Central Prison.
And the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa has been on the case of the 25-year-old pregnant woman arrested and detained in the Boya Central Prison in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. The organization published a report in which it details the circumstances of her arrest. Derek Jato in Boya talked to the Human Rights Officer of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, and Innocent, as they compiled this report.
Chada, the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, says it is not relenting efforts in ensuring General No Pity's ex-girlfriend, Antoinette Kongsa Goda, arrested, tortured and detained on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021 by 3 masked soldiers led by Chief of Bwasa Village in Boya. Ewume Eko John, alias Moja, is released from pre-trial detention at the Boya Central Prison.
As a human rights organization, we also have a law firm, which is the litigation unit of the organization, and through the litigation unit we have created a legal team, a task force, which is charged with her case. So there are about 12 lawyers who are going to take on the case.
Chada also reacted by filing a habeas corpus.
We started by filing a habeas corpus and the military court against the Legion commander and against the superintendent, the penitentiary administration. So we filed a habeas corpus for the protection of the arrested person because she has been there for days and we have not been able to see her. So we need her to be produced in court and to be charged for any offense which they are holding her for.
Antoinette, a 25-year-old expectant mother and mother of two, was initially detained at the Legion Gendarmerie Brigade, where she spent 3 weeks before her transfer to the Boya Central Prison on awaiting trial. According to Chada, in his October 13 report, Antoinette's family has been denied access to her. Dishing out information to Chada, the family alleges the prison authorities have said Antoinette has been diagnosed with COVID-19. The family has also told Chada that Antoinette and No Pity had broken up in 2018 with no effective communication between them, as gendarmes at the Legion insist of a steady conversation and monthly financial support from No Pity. The detained expectant mother, before being transferred to the Boya Central Prison, revealed she lost a huge sum of money made from her Momo business when she was being beaten and kicked mercilessly by Moja and his colleagues, who also seized her business and personal telephones. At the time of her detention, she had no legal representative.
And still within the framework of the close to 5-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, the taxation department and other institutions have been suffering serious financial slowdown as a result of the crisis that has brought a significant impact on economic activities. And Davidson Maimo in Limbe tells us that the authorities of the taxation department are now striving to beef or downplay the impact of the Anglophone crisis.
Statistics show that crisis-hit areas in Cameroon are simply limping in meeting up with their financial target in revenue collection. This is very evident in the northwest, southwest and northern regions, where most councils are barely surviving from state subvention. However, cities and towns that are supposed to support the state in terms of revenue collection are equally plagued with corruption and financial scandals, depriving the state of Cameroon of hundreds of millions of CFA francs.
We are all humans. When money touches hands, sometimes there are a lot of things that could happen. And the less the contact, the less the possibility or the temptations.
To ameliorate the situation, the government of Mr. Biya, through the taxation department, is at the forefront, implementing modern and digital methods to direct taxes into the state coffers through the use of mobile money and bank transaction by business persons.
All payments now are made through the internet, through the mobile money, through bank transfers and so on. So there is no more money that changes hands. So it also secures the revenue of the state.
A one-day sensitization seminar bringing together business persons within Tico subdivision is one out of many to be carried out by all tax centers in Cameroon, with objective to improve on revenue collection through the use of electronic money.
It's not easy with the present situation, but with the sensitization, my team has been able to carry out. The people are gradually responding, especially with the online declaration.
It is expected revenue collection within crisis-hit areas shall improve, while corruption and financial scandals within cities and towns in the taxation department shall drop.
A truck transporting illegal goods into the country has been intercepted by custom officials in Ngaoundéré in the Adamawa region of the Republic. And according to the custom officials and top security officials in that part of the country, the truck was transporting non-biodegradable plastic papers or plastic bags, hard drugs and mobile phones. Smanjik and Gabriel has more.
Another big catch by the elements of Alcomi 3 in Ngaoundéré. A lorry that left Nigeria for Cameroon was transporting prohibited goods but hidden under the truck,
which are not good for human consumption. You have plastic bags, you have drugs, very dangerous drugs, and mobile telephones.
The commander of Al-Komi 3 said those involved in the transportation of goods in the country in a clandestine manner are now doing so on weekends when they think the control made by custom is not tense.
Most of these goods will be destroyed because they are goods which are not authorized to enter the country. And secondly, they are goods which are not good for human consumption. So they will be destroyed by the competent authority.
Custom officials in the Grand North say the battle to stop illegal transportation of goods into the country will be intensified to enable the country to achieve its goals by 2035.
Inhabitants of Ndokbong in the Douala 5 subdivision are urging municipal and administrative authorities to save them from the devastating consequences of water flowing out of a destroyed or a damaged septic tank on their health. And they are saying that they are now living in a very dangerous situation as far as their health is concerned because of the contaminated water flowing in from that septic tank. Malaglory reports.
Wastewater flowing from a damaged septic system, a disgusting and stinking water from the toilet of a building belonging to a certain Mr. Tengom Donatien is putting the health of the population of Dogbong neighborhood in the Douala 5 municipality at risk. My highest problems are my kids because they don't know how to jump this place. If they end up in this dirty water, they will be infected. My children can fall in this water and get infected. According to the people, their complaints for the owner to repair the septic system for over 5 years now have been falling on deaf ears. This is the 5th year that we have been pleading with this man to fix the problem. He keeps giving fake promises. 2017, 2018 till now, nothing has been done. The people say they have filed in several complaints to both the city council and the national gendarmerie in a way to pressurize the owner to set things right, yet nothing has been done by the accused. We sent several complaints to the Douala City Council and a team was deployed on the field to take note of the situation. Later we sent another complaint to the National Gendarmerie, but yet nothing has been done. The accused on his part acknowledges his fault, pleading with the inhabitants to give him some time to remedy the situation.
And now in news out of Cameroon, residents of the capital of Ethiopia's Tigray region said earlier today that new airstrikes hit the town as videos showed injured people being rushed to vehicles and thick black smoke rising in the sky. And the United Nations said that 3 children were killed in the airstrike. Ethiopia's government said it targeted facilities to make and repair weapons. A spokesperson for the rival Tigray forces denied the allegations, and the UN said it is slashing by more than half its Tigray presence as an Ethiopian government blockade halts humanitarian aid efforts and people are dying from lack of food. And now in sports, the senior women's and men's national volleyball teams are decrying the poor treatment given to them by the Cameroon government after their exploits in Kigali and Rwanda. Till date, the women's volleyball team crowned Africa's champions are yet to get their bonuses, and the men also in the same situation. Smanjikan Gabriel has more.
The volleyball lioness is rejoicing after picking up another trophy in Rwanda. Upon their return to the country, just like any other selection, the volleyball Lionesses won't be compensated. In a letter to the president of the Volleyball Federation, the Lionesses are decrying the poor treatment given to them 1 month after their thrilling win. No bonuses. It shows a deficit in the management of federations as they fail to plan ahead of major competitions. In the letter to the president of the Volleyball Federation, the Lionesses say they have received only 300,000 francs CFA, which is Olympic bonuses, and 1,335,000 francs CFA, which is participation bonus. The problem faced by the champions of Africa in the women's category is also faced by the vice champions of Africa in the male category. The men volleyball team are also without their bonuses, just like previous years. The men as well as the women volleyball team had a difficult time in their preparation for the two competitions. With lack of sports equipment, they even at times lack drinking water while training. At the end, after putting up a good fight, their efforts are not recognized by the federation and the country.
Thank you for staying with us. Talking Point is up next. One of Africa's top medical experts, Professor Henry Famundame, public health and pharmaceutical care expert, is joining us from South Africa. Professor, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you for inviting me again.
Right, today we are talking about brain drain, notably in the medical sector. Many medical experts on the African continent continue moving out of the continent to other parts of the world. And of course, we are talking about this at the point in time that this debate is reignited by the recent appointment of two top medical experts in Africa to positions out of the continent. And notably, we are talking about first Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu, current head of the World Health Organization's Hub for Pandemic and Epidemic Intelligence in Cameroon, rather intelligence appointed to Berlin in Germany. And we are also talking about Dr. John Kengasson, a Cameroon-born medical expert, as head of the American President's Emergency Plan Aid Relief. These are two senior top medical experts in Africa appointed to positions out of the African continent. How do we understand this brain drain? What's your analysis of this continuous move of Africa's best medics out of the continent?
Well, brain drain, which is what is generally called human capital flight. Brain drain is a terminology which is meant to be very graphic in describing what is happening in Africa. The two very distinguished gentlemen, Dr. Chikwe and Dr. Kengasson, that have been recently appointed, they will not fall under what we actually characterize as brain drain, because these are two very fine African scientists that have worked in the public health arena. Dr. Chikwe working in the Nigerian CDC and Dr. Kengasson managing the African CDC. Both of them have been elevated to global positions, which are meant to be able to cater for the entire world. But catering for the entire world, Africa is always lagging behind. Africa has the most challenges, particularly when we talk about infectious diseases. Africa is the worst in the world. And so these are two gentlemen that understand it. And so they've been elevated to a level where they will be able to use more resources and that is available to them, and hopefully use the experience that they have in Africa and be able to help Africa. However, the brain drain in Africa is a major problem, and when we talk about brain drain, particularly in Africa, if you take the example of medical doctors, for example, you have countries like the US that have about 3 medical doctors for every 1,000 people, and they come, and in Europe, they poach from Africa. From Cameroon, we don't even have up to 1 medical doctor for 1,000 patients. We have 0.083. In Nigeria has 0.3. South Africa probably has the best, about 0.7. None of these African countries has enough doctors. Yet we have an exodus from this continent. Sometimes they are being poached from this continent into this higher level countries. But a lot of times people go voluntarily, and sometimes they even go illegally. But that's telling you that the continent has a problem. And you cannot emerge into a middle economy if your intelligentsia is leaving the continent the way they're living now. So to me, the continent is actually in crisis, and I'm not sure why this problem is not center stage for you all in the media, for the African Union, for the Pan-African Parliament, for all the parliaments on the African continent, because that's a major problem that we have on the continent. If you look at the statistics, most of the people that die of infectious disease, 50% of them come from Africa. If you look at the continent, most of the maternal death that we have in the world, most of it comes from Africa in terms of the percentage, the infant deaths that we have. So you have a situation where people are leaving the continent that needs the most in terms of human resources and moving to the countries that have a lot of human resources, although they classify them not to be enough. So that's the challenge that we have, and the two gentlemen that we have don't fall under that category of brain drain.
All right. You said that the appointment of Dr. Kengason and Chikwe do not fall under the category of brain drain. How do we therefore characterize these appointments of Africa's top medical experts to positions out of the continent? There is an ongoing debate, and there are some people who think that this is still an action that goes a long way to deprive Africa of its best brains.
Well, people could say that because they don't quite understand what PEPFAR does. PEPFAR is the organization in the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, which was put together by President Bush. They've spent since 2003 almost $100 billion to take care of HIV/AIDS people in the world, majority of them being in Africa. So that is a single country that has managed HIV/AIDS, particularly in the African context. Dr. Kengason is going to be in charge of that program. 70% of HIV/AIDS cases in the world are based in Africa. And if Dr. Kengason, as a Cameroonian-born scientist, does what we expect of him, we expect of him to take care of this continent and take care of Cameroon. What African countries need to do is to be able to give him the support, give Dr. Chikwe the support. Now, this is a new WHO office in Germany that Dr. Chikwe is going to be leading. His job is to monitor the intelligence and look at preventive measures and look at where we may be having pandemics emerging in Africa. That's a very important job in working with WHO based in Germany, which means the German government is going to be putting a lot of funds. He knows the work that he does in Nigeria. If he can now use the resources to spread it over Africa, that would be great. Now, that is not brain drain. We're gaining from that process, and we need to support them. The brain drain that we're talking about is what I just described to you. You can't have a situation where we have 3 doctors for 1,000 people, and you come into a country that has, less than half, less than 0.00 something, and you are taking the doctors, and some of them are moving. And a lot of times, it's not because people are poaching. Sometimes a lot of the people are leaving voluntarily. So what do we have to do in order to retain people? What kind of policy do we have in place? That's the challenging. And I repeat again that this country is in crisis because we know that during slavery is the reason why the continent is very backwards. After slavery, there was colonialism. I can tell you that the brain drain is probably going to be worse than that because you're taking away the intelligentsia that belongs to the continent. So there's no innovation. When we talk about African solutions for African problems, it's just a slogan because the people are leaving.
All right, Professor. All right, before we go, Professor, how can Africa prevent and manage brain drain?
Very good question. That's what we should be doing. We should be coming up with innovative approaches. Now, the first approach not to do is to consider opening medical schools, pharmacy schools, nursing schools, when you don't have a retention strategy and policy in place. because you're basically using the government's money to train people who are going to exodus and going to leave the continent. That's one of the ways that you need to do is what we call task shifting. You need to make sure that you don't keep training the doctors and pharmacists who are leaving. You train a lower cadre, the doctor assistants, the pharmacist assistants, because there's no reason why a doctor should be taking a blood pressure for somebody, taking temperature. That should be done by an assistant while the doctor attends to people. Otherwise, you're going to have the doctors have a burnout. The other thing that you need to do is, there are a lot of Africans in the diaspora. They really want to come back. What is the strategy that the government will put in place to make sure that you begin to attract your scientists and your public health practitioners all over the world to start coming back? And not only Africans, the African Americans in the diaspora, in the Caribbean. If there's a way for them to come back to this continent, they will come back to this continent.
All right, Professor Henry Fomendam, Professor of Medicine, Public Health and Pharmaceutical Care expert, joining us from South Africa. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. Coming up live from Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, La Presse dispute, and after that, Equinoxe. Stay with us.